The multiverse is filled with scary things that go bump in the night. Some things more human-looking than other things, but all capable of wreaking havoc and completely disrupting the lives of the unassuming citizens across a few universes. And some of the most recent on-screen multiversal explorations may only be the tip of the iceberg. I think a grand secret is gradually unfolding before us, and all of the pieces are in place. We've encountered the mention of incursions, we've finally had a true MCU Mr. Fantastic introduction,
Battlestar Galactica,
a brief Mr. Living Tribunal glimpse, and previous meetings with Celestials. I think some major adversaries are on the way, and if this breadcrumb trail is to be trusted, I think we can definitely anticipate some honestly chilling storylines. In the comics, it only takes 8 hours for two Earths to collide, causing a chain of events that ultimately obliterates both of the corresponding Earth's entire universes. Apocalypse parties, anyone? For the most part, universes coexist in parallel dimensions without interacting with one another. But multiversal meddling, and there has been quite a lot of it lately. Loki, What If, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness can be the cause of an incursion event. When the fabric of one reality intermingles with another, it is not good news, especially when Earth is the main focal point. The incursion problem is one that plagues Jonathan Hickman's New Avengers storylines and bleeds into the Secret Wars comic storylines. And incursions are mentioned more than just once in the Multiverse of Madness. One of the most straightforward solutions to this multiversal issue is to destroy one of the Earths on collision course with the other visible Earth of the parallel universe. Simple, right? Not so much if you call yourself a superhero. This causes quite the moral dilemma for our favorite defenders, whereby not acting, you damn both Earths. It is an extremely high-stakes trolley problem.
Because you never know when some lunatic will come along with a sadistic choice.
You can divert a train from causing an accident by flipping a switch and changing its track so the train causes a different kind of accident. Which accident would you rather allow? And how do you feel about being the one who flips the switch? And if the stakes weren't high enough, not only are both Earths and billions of lives on each forfeit, this multiversal event damns both universes.
This is why only fools are heroes.
All of a sudden, sacrificing billions on one Earth to save trillions throughout both universes, and keeping one Earth intact does not seem like the worst trade. In the words of Thanos,
the hardest choices require the strongest wills.
And maybe a hero is not needed for such a decision. A cold, calculating villain might make for the best solution. Someone the multiverse deserves, but not the one it needs. Because they're not a hero, they're a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a Victor Von Doom. Another solution to this problem, but a single-use solution, is to stave off the incursion with the use of the Infinity Stones. This has been done before, but the enormous energy required to separate the intermingling energies of the two universes and force one Earth back into its own reality required so much power that the majority of the Infinity Stones were shattered by this action. Further incursions require further solutions. Incursion events within Jonathan Hickman's comic run whittled the multiverse down to two main universes, the Ultimate Universe and the main Earth 616 timeline. But who was behind all of this cosmic destruction? Outside of the Marvel multiverse exists an almost omnipotent race of alien beings. They have the power to create, destroy, and bend reality to their wills about as much as they wish, all while using almost no more energy expenditure than what thoughts require. And with so much power, reality becomes nothing more than your toy. So they came up with a fun idea. As a grand experiment, let us see if we can destroy the entire multiverse. And not only destroy the entire multiverse, but orchestrate it in such a way that we get to bear witness to the destruction of all the universes within the multiverse at the same time. Just to see it, it's a flawed multiverse in their opinion anyway, so no harm is really done, right?
Yes! 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 What's the worst that can happen?
To do this, a device was created that would detonate, taking an entire universe with it. And that device was a man, the Molecule Man. A man whose powers function as a cosmic demolition. He has no variance throughout the multiverse, remaining statically himself across the many universes, and when his life naturally expires, he detonates, taking the universe he exists within along with him. Now, this may not be the exact direction the MCU decides to go. So far, instead of Beyonders, we find ourselves facing the multiversal threat of Kang the Conqueror / He Who Remains. Could he be the threat from beyond rather than the Beyonders, contributing to some of these new and perhaps incoming MCU incursions?
You're welcome.
Why are you the way that you are?
We will have to wait and see, but we think a new savior of the multiverse may soon be on the way to help deal with this threat, in his own monstrous way.
Stop embarrassing yourself.
With the official introduction to a version of Mr. Fantastic, no matter how brief, we can be sure one of his main villains is not far behind, and he would tie in perfectly with all of these new mentions of incursions. Although in the storyline we think the MCU may be pulling from, outright calling him a villain may not be the best way to describe him. One dark solution to the incursion problem was to spring the universal trap set by the Beyonders, choosing which universes to detonate prematurely and draw the Beyonders out into the open. Such an analytical tactic was devised and enacted by Victor Von Doom. If the goal of the Beyonders was to witness the destruction of multiple universes simultaneously, Dr. Doom certainly impeded their progress. Universes still blew up, and a whole lot of them, but Doom was choosing, and he became quite good at it. So good in fact that while traveling the multiverse and repeatedly culling universes in mad defiance of the Beyonders, he gained followers. His grand scale of cosmic destruction in the face of his godlike adversaries, heralding Jonathan Hickman's Secret War storyline, sprouted a religion. His dreadful decisions attracted worshippers, naming him the Great Destroyer, and they became his black swans. They aided him in the destruction of these worlds. After a couple of years, the Beyonders finally caught on and realized their perfect harmony of multiversal fireworks were not exploding in the exact ways they had planned. The lights of the multiverse were to go off in a very specific manner, rather than in the sporadic, premature choosing way of the Great Destroyer. The Beyonders began their own investigations. Why was their multiversal toy not functioning in the way it was supposed to? With time travel already established within the MCU, it won't seem too unusual to find that Dr. Doom was doing so. During his time travels, he found Molecule Man across the multiverse, always himself a singularity across the timelines and a living detonation device created by the Beyonders. Upon finally meeting Doom, who steps before them and proclaims he is the one defying them, he unleashes his great weapon. Not only had Doom spent his time searching, finding, and mowing down Molecule Men throughout the multiverse, but he also collected them. The universal detonation devices that the Molecule Men were made for the perfect weapon. Molecule Men forged by the Beyonders themselves, redirected against them. Definitely a Victor Von Doom move. A chance to show off his superiorness and intellect and best gods. Doom was born for the challenge of the Beyonders. And his will and ability to pick and choose which universes to off, not many could do such a thing. Detonating the power of his Molecule Men-powered device, he successfully and finally destroyed these multiversal tinkerers. Now, he did stop the threat of the Beyonders from completely eradicating everything, but what was left was near nothing. He siphons the defeated Beyonders' enormous reality warping power into himself and uses it to salvage from the ashes of the torn multiverses a new world, a world where he is the savior and God-King ruler, the ruler of Battleworld. In Jonathan Hickman's run, cue the Secret Wars, some of the surviving heroes of the cosmic war between Victor Von Doom and the Beyonders attempt to undo Battleworld and restore the previous multiverse. Mr. Fantastic's first MCU appearance was not just fan service. When you have Mr. Fantastic, a mention of Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four, mentions of incursions, and multiversal threats all in the span of a couple of movies and TV shows, Doom cannot be far behind, and Secret Wars may be on the way. The stars are all aligned for a 2015 comic Secret War storyline to take place. Another breadcrumb directing us towards Secret Wars is in the way the Celestials and the Living Tribunal have been introduced. They are absolute cosmic powerhouses within the comics and the MCU, but hopefully they are not just being set up as quickly disposable characters to demonstrate the terrifying threat that the Beyonders / He Who Remains represents.
If you think I'm evil, just wait till you meet my variants.
If it brings Secret Wars closer to a MCU debut, I'm fine with it, but it would be great to see these gigantic beings featured even more so on screen. During the Eternals, we got to see the awesome scale of the Celestials. They existed before the Big Bang and created stars, planets, and even seeded life across the cosmos. We even got personal with Celestial Ego and his interactions with Star-Lord.
What?
No, all right. I know.
With extreme energy and matter manipulation power, they are formidable cosmic-level characters within the Marvel Universe, and the Living Tribunal dwarfs all of them in power. We were teased with the Living Tribunal during Loki, where a statue of his head was passed. With 3 faces, courses of action are discussed between all 3 of the heads before an action is taken. The forward-facing face is the voice of equity. The face on the right side of the Tribunal's head is the voice of necessity. The last head on the left side of the Tribunal's head represents revenge, and all must be in agreement. He is the only one of himself existing within the multiverse. There are no variants of himself, but he can choose to manifest across the multiverse at the same time if he chooses. It's just him presiding over it all. Just one all-powerful cosmic keeping organizer, and his appearance is not to be taken lightly. He was seen very quickly in passing in an easy-to-miss scene in the Multiverse of Madness, where America Chavez and Doctor Strange are falling through a number of universes. His presence, even briefly, signifies multiversal issues, and it's no wonder. With all the multiversal threats and meddlers suddenly making appearances in the MCU, he was bound to show up sooner or later. Whenever a universe becomes unbalanced in its mystical forces, he sorts and solidifies reality, being all of the universe's last defense and establisher of multiversal order. And order is balance. Sometimes in order to maintain balance within a universe, it requires a sprinkle of good, and sometimes the balance may require a sprinkle of evil. So his actions may at times appear ambiguous to the beings in any given universe. But the through line incorporating both the Celestials and Living Tribunal in what we think is soon to come is what happens to them. To all of the Celestials and the ultimate and final power of the Living Tribunal, they are all eliminated by the Beyonders. This is how serious and grave a threat the Beyonders are. The near omnipotence of the Celestials and the singular and last upholder of all things multiverse are completely defeated by them, all so the Beyonders can freely manipulate and destroy the multiverse according to their whims. The remains of the Celestials are found floating in space like the bodies of ants, drifting in the wake of the Beyonders' destruction, and the Living Tribunal's body is left defeated and rotting on the moon. We do not think the Celestials, and much less the Living Tribunal, even though they look supremely cool on screen, are just making random appearances for no reason. We think their appearances are specifically marking and moving the plot towards potential doom, literally. We are getting ready to enter Marvel Phase 5 and meeting Mr. Fantastic and raising the multiversal stakes across the board with Incursions, Secret Wars, or at least aspects of it, should soon follow, and we cannot wait.
This is wild.
The playbook may not be page for page, but this could be the next endgame level and beyond threat we finally see hit the MCU. With the MCU stakes continually rising from singular universal threats of Ultron and Thanos to multiversal threats of Incursion, Kang the Conqueror, these struggles seem to be building towards one grand event. The introduction of Phase 5 Marvel may bring some of the most dangerous villains yet, and with the precursory teases of Mr. Fantastic, Celestials, and the Living Tribunal, doom is certainly on the way.
As future Emperor of the world, I require a castle befitting my station.
And he may just be bringing a world of battle with him.